Welcome to another episode of Stories from the Edge of Life. We once again have a very special guest. We have Dr. Jaideep Misra today. Dr. Misra, welcome to our channel.
Thank you so much, Dr. Bhardwaj. It's a great honor and pleasure to be here with you.
Great, the honor is all ours. Would you mind introducing yourself to our audience, please?
Absolutely. My name is Dr. Mishra. I'm one of the internal medicine doctors. I practice primary care medicine in the Central Valley in Merced, California, United States of America. And I love primary care because it really allows me to see my patients very closely, follow them up, and offer them medicine at the grassroots level. And besides the love of music, I also enjoy cooking, meditation, and medicine. So that's in short about me.
Yeah, and if I remember right, you like to identify yourself as an instrument to heal patients
That's right. We are all
practicing
in
medicine.
through which healing can flow for each other.
Great. And I'm Parag Bharadwaj. I'm a hospice and palliative medicine physician in the US. So, Dr. Mishra, you mentioned we have a global audience. So, just to be make sure that they all understand. So, internal medicine is what is called general medicine in most of the countries, and primary care is basically mostly what is practiced on the outpatient in the outpatient world, right?
That's absolutely right. So primary care is the first line of contact, as I like to understand it. It's the first time a patient walks into a clinic and has his healthcare maintenance done, and it's the first time where a doctor gets to see a patient.
So, talking about you being a doctor, what got you interested in becoming a doctor in the first place?
I think it was my aunt who actually was responsible in sowing the early seeds of the love of healing and medicine. Because when I was 4 or 5 years old, my aunt used to study anatomy. She was in medical school, so she had a bone set. And it really intrigued me as a kid to see how intricate the human body is and how artistically, geometrically placed our muscles and bones are.
Great. So it's interesting because I thought anatomy was one of the most difficult subjects in vet school. So I'm glad you took a liking for it early on. So so tell us then, what was your journey when it came to getting interested in medicine as a child, then eventually ending up in medical school?
The journey has been really fabulous, and I would really attribute it to a lot of miracles that happened and keep happening every moment. And it started with that wonder which a child sees when he's introduced to the bones. And as I said, my aunt was studying with her bone sets in her first year of medical school, so it really started with the curiosity of knowing how intricate this machine is, and having the desire and the will to study the complexity of this beautiful creation and orchestra, as I call it. Also, as a kid, I always loved music and I loved arts, I loved crafts, I loved painting, and I thought the body is one of the most miraculous gifts, which we have, which is purely an art of creation, if I can put it that way. And it's not only just an art, but it's highly scientific. And at the same time, there was a joy as a kid cooking for people, and having people at home or baking a cake. So I thought, what a beautiful way of practicing an art and science by which I could give back to the society, give back to where I came from. And that's how it started. And that's what enabled me to pursue my studies in Delhi, India. And after that, I actually went into medical school in Bangalore, which is in south of India. And going from there, I wanted to come to the US because I always appreciated the work-life balance that this country offers. And so I pursued my residency in New York, Brooklyn. And after that, life brought me to a small college town, Merced, where I happily practice primary care medicine.
Great. So clearly, you had a lot of varied interests in when you were a child, got into medical school because of your influence of your aunt. What type of medicine did she end up practicing, by the way?
So she's an internist as well in the Boston area, and she's a primary care physician as well.
All right. So that's a very inspiring story. Now, so you were introduced to music early on, but I believe something unique happened when you were in your, I think, second year of medicine. You were introduced to a specific instrument, which is not very commonly known to many Indians as well. So, tell us about how you got to know about this particular instrument and how it perhaps helped you uh, in your journey as a medical student and becoming a doctor.
That's a wonderful question, Paragji. I think that's really very well asked. So, music, I heard my father playing the harmonica from a young age. And he played the Rabindra Sangeet, which is the music of East India or Calcutta, as you know, it's very classical. And he played the harmonica, which is the mouth organ. And I grew up appreciating nature. And whenever it would rain, I still remember I would go out and I would sing. And that became more and more refined. I learned piano, harmonium, and the mouth organ at home when I was a kid. And when I went to medical school, I continued my passion for music, and it became more chiseled and more channelized to more kind of a meditative music. And when I say meditative music, it's really the music which allows the mind to enter its own quietude and enter its own stillness. And I think that was also very much required with a hectic, rigorous routine of, of medical schooling, which I'm sure all of us are aware. That it is hours and hours of study, patient care, and a lot of intense hard work that goes in it. So there was a part of me that always yearned for arts, for appreciation with nature, and music became that portal by which I could infuse and suffuse the arduous hours of hard work of reading and patient care, and I could actually add a new sense of life to what I was doing, at the hospital and at the medical college.
So it's very interesting because becoming a doctor in itself is, at least, might have been easy for you, but it's not easy. And on top of that, to have other such interests, because from what I've experienced, most, if not all, definitely not all, there are no absolutes, but many doctors are very, very scientifically inclined, and you here are a blend of both the art and the science, right? You mentioned many times as you were describing your interest in medicine, you mentioned the word art, and you also mentioned science. So how do you see the blend of the two in your daily practice?
Thank you for asking that. I really see it as a pure blessing. And I really feel that it's a blessing to be in medicine where every day I can be surrounded with people who come with varied illnesses and varied problems or, complaints and ways to get better. And at the end of the encounter, there is an opportunity for a doctor to actually serve and create a moment of upliftment. And as a primary care physician, it could sometimes be filling motor vehicle form for a disability placard, or it could be doing a disability paperwork, or it could be curing an ailment, or triaging a patient and sending them to to the emergency room if that is what is required. And then once the patient gets better, patient comes back and is very grateful. So it's really a blessing to be surrounded with that gratitude, right? Or to see a sugar of a diabetic patient being controlled from an uncontrolled state of high blood sugars to a very well controlled state of blood sugar, and then the patient comes back saying, oh, thank you. So I think that gratitude produces that sense of well-being, right? At the same time, arts or music or colors add that element of joy into the mainstream cerebral work. And when I say cerebral work, it's really a work of the mind, analyzing labs, or looking at the patient and looking at the complaints and putting it into a system and trying to work out a diagnosis. So that can be very, very analytical, and it is analytical because you have to use your brain in using all your knowledge to serve that patient. But the practice of music and art helps me to bring that freshness, bring that creativity, bring that smile. Enables me to connect. And as a personal practice for me, my music is a daily practice. And right after this interview, I'm going to be taking my string instrument and being will be playing my instrument, or will be practicing singing, where I would just allow myself to bathe in the nectar of the sound. And the more and more I do it, the more relaxed I am and the more fresh I am. And when somebody meets me, be it my patient or a friend or a colleague, they are touched by this space of stillness which is flowing through me. So that's why I consider it a great blessing.
Amazing. So you're using music to instill stillness in yourself, as you mentioned, and that flows into the patients as you care for them. Very very unique perspective. Now, we had a surgeon on our channel a few weeks ago, and we spoke about how surgeons play music in the background when they perform surgeries. Do you play music in the background when you're seeing patients in the clinic?
I do not do that personally, but whatever time I get off my patient care, I definitely listen to music, I sing, and I play music.
Got it. Now, of course, you mentioned the many positives when it comes to being a primary care physician, and how your practice helps you improve your care for your patients. But then, as a doctor, there are also times when things don't work out the way we want them to for our patients. Um, and you've gone to med school in India, so did I. And sometimes we see patients coming to the doctors very late. So tell us a little bit about that aspect of being a physician, and how do you reconcile in terms of, you know, sometimes we do feel helpless in not being able to help patients.
That's very true. I would like to reiterate the point which you brought in the beginning, that we really are instruments in the flow of life. We are that channel of healing. Yes, uh, the physical form underwent training to become a doctor, to become qualified to analyze labs, to help patients, but it really is an instrument in the whole process of life. So sometimes, and as you said, if patients approach at a later stage where the prognosis is not very good, I think communication is a key to explaining to the patient what their condition is, understanding their level of understanding and what their level of comprehension of the disease process is, and explaining and counseling them from that perspective. And just to be able to be an empty space to listen to all that they are undergoing through and have that connection, then that is really, really important. And acceptance. And sometimes patients are in denial, or they might not accept the diagnosis that they have, but really taking that time to listen to them, to really understand where they are coming from, and connecting on that basis is what is really essential. And again, as you said rightly, that we are all instruments, right? Which means the instrument has limitations, right? I'm sure nobody till date has the answer of bringing life back, right? So at that time, you understand how limited one is. You humble yourself, and you serve the best that you can from that situation and that possibility.
Thank you. And again, I think you're giving me too much credit for using the word instrument. I actually learned that from you. So all credit goes to you. Now, the one thing I would like to share with the audience, and please reinforce this, is uh, at least from certain cultures. So we are Indians, and uh, it's not a routine practice to go and see a primary care physician, and you typically go to a doctor when something is wrong. Whereas a primary care physician is somebody that uh, individuals should regularly go and see to ensure that, everything is going well with their health and there are no surprises, so that, you can try to preempt problems in advance, say for simple things like blood pressure, diabetes, and so forth. So, anything that you want to add to that, please?
I think that's very right. It is the brick and mortar for maintenance of health. It's the first line of contact at the grassroots level. It is the foundation. There's a Chinese saying which says a good doctor is a doctor which has no patients, which really means that the primary care is very strong. And that means everybody is being taken care of, that they don't fall sick. So that means the maintenance is of the car is being done very well, that the car doesn't really break down. So a regular visit to the primary care would enable a patient to have their health being given in their hands to control in a better way. It would enable them to know their blood pressure is being controlled, or their blood sugars are being controlled, or if there are any abnormalities in the blood work, right? So that is why, or to do their colon cancer screening and mammograms and other etc. maintenance processes, which really enable the machine to work for a longer time.
Right. So, on an average, or typically, even the healthy individual should see their doctor once a year.
Absolutely, absolutely, absolutely. Once or twice a year, depending on the problems they have.
Correct.
And fewer people would even benefit from a closer follow up if they've got diabetes and high blood pressure.
Right. So I meant like even if you don't have anything going on, you should at least go and visit your doctor once a year just to make sure everything's,
Absolutely.
and they can do the required tests.
Absolutely.
So it's been a very thought-provoking conversation with you, and this is just a glimpse of, I hope, many more interactions we have with you. uh, the next discussion we are going to have, for the sake of our audience, is going to be a very special one, where we will talk about the intersection of uh, you know medicine and music, along with what you like to describe meditation.
Perfect. I'm excited and up for it, as excited I was for this session. Thank you so much for this great opportunity to interact with you. And as always, it was really a pleasure talking to you.
Likewise, and please watch out for the next interview, which will come along with a performance by Dr. Mishra. Thank you very much for your time.
Thank you so much, Paragji. Have a beautiful day.